Salam Malaysia Madani. You're watching Malaysia Tonight with me, Shuhaida Arifin. Our top stories tonight. Terima 23 can reinforce Malaysia as a hub for aerospace and maritime industries. Mechanism for targeted subsidy 75% complete. The Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riayatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah and Abu Dhabi Crown Prince Sheikh Khalid bin Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan today graced the Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Exhibition 2023, Lima 23. Al-Sultan Abdullah and Sheikh Khalid arrived at the Mahsuri International Exhibition Centre MIEC at around noon and were welcomed by Defence Minister Datuk Seri Muhammad Hassan. Pahang Region Tengku Hassan Al Ibrahim Alam Shah was also in attendance. Al-Sultan Abdullah and Sheikh Khalid then visited the Guarding Marine Fast Inspector Craft G200 MK2 and the booth of local aerospace company, Guarding Group, while being briefed on the company operations. The royal visitors then proceeded to visit other booths, namely the Sakura Secure Technologies, Bosset Naval Shipyard Sendirian Berhad, as well as the UAE's The Age Group involved in military weaponry and related technologies. Al-Sultan Abdullah then joined Sheikh Khalid, who's also Abu Dhabi Executive Council Chairman, to watch the air show mounted by aerobatic teams from various countries. Sheikh Khalid's special visit is expected to further strengthen the long-standing good relationship between Malaysia and the UAE, which was upgraded to a strategic partnership on 27 September last year. The 2023 Langkawi International Maritime and Aerospace Lima 23 exhibition has the potential to reinforce Malaysia as a regional hub for the aerospace and maritime industries. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Anwar Ibrahim today said in doing so it will enable the country to move closer to the realisation of the Malaysian aerospace industry blueprint and the Malaysia Shipping Master Plan.
I am proud that our country is playing a key role in the growth of global aerospace and marine industries, which in 2021 alone were valued at nearly 300 billion and 170 billion dollars respectively. 300 for aerospace and 170 billion US dollars for maritime.
During his welcoming remark in conjunction with Lima 23, the Prime Minister also said Lima 23 has established itself as an event that encompasses all sides of aerospace and maritime sectors from both military and civilian aspects. In his speech, he also applauded the support from various partners which had contributed to the successful fruition of the prestigious biennial event. Datuk Seri Anwar also received a courtesy call from South Korean Defence Minister Lee Jong-sup in Langkawi today. Both leaders spent about 30 minutes discussing issues of mutual interest, including bilateral and regional relations. Among the issues discussed were efforts to strengthen bilateral relations in the field of defence and security. Lee is currently on a 3-day special visit to Malaysia in conjunction with the Lima 23 exhibition. Also present during the meeting were Foreign Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Zamri Abdul Qadir and the South Korean delegation. After the meeting, Datuk Seri Anwar also received a courtesy call from Somalia's Transport and Civil Aviation Minister Fardosa Osman Egal before moving on to the next location for his 2-day visit to Langkawi in conjunction with Lima 23. The organising of Lima 23 exhibition has opened the doors to local institutions of higher learning (IPT) to explore new areas of technical and vocational education and training (TVET). Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Seri Dr. Mazzaid Hamidi said course offerings in the new areas are expected to be able to expand the potential of TVET graduates to meet the needs of the workforce in the country.
Untuk Lima ini beberapa peluang digali untuk pelajar-pelajar TVET, ya, dan saya telah meminta UniKL dan Universiti Politek Malaysia untuk explore kursus-kursus yang diperlukan, sama ada di dalam negeri atau luar negeri untuk pelajar TVET kita. 227,000 adalah merupakan second chance student tetapi mereka lebih berminat dalam bidang teknikal dan bidang-bidang yang ada kaitan sama ada dengan maritime engineering dan juga dalam bidang aviation. Dan 5 adalah satu platform yang baik untuk TVET.
Dato' Seri Dr. Ahmad Zahid said this after witnessing the signing of letter of intent between Aerostar Technology Sdn Berhad and UniKL Malaysian Institute of Aviation Technology for the Aircraft Structural Repair Program at the Mahsuri International Exhibition Centre in Langkawi today. He said the cooperation between Aerostar Technologies and UniKL MIAT would also enable the students to learn all about aircraft and fighter jet maintenance, repair and overhaul. The mechanism for targeted subsidies is 75% complete. Speaking to reporters at the signing of the Double Taxation Avoidance Agreement between Malaysia and Maldives at Parliament today, Deputy Finance Minister Dato' Seri Ahmad Maslan said the mechanism might be announced during the presentation of Budget 2024 scheduled for October. Dato' Seri Ahmad also noted that the composition of those eligible for fuel subsidies has not been finalised, as the government still has to consider whether a T20 individual's number of dependents will be taken into account.
Kemungkinan kebiasaannya perkara besar yang kita nak buat pada tahun selepasnya akan dimasukkan dalam ucapan bajet. Keputusan itu secara prinsip, secara dasar sudah ada. Bagaimana kaedah detailnya belum dapat lagi diputuskan. Sama ada menggunakan kad pengenalan, sama ada menggunakan kad khas, sama ada menggunakan sisi kereta, belum diputuskan. Tetapi itu di antara perkaranya lah, sama ada menggunakan senarai M40, B40, T20.
The Digital Economy Centres PADI nationwide will be realigned with new shifts and strategies to ensure that they can be fully utilised by the local community. When met after the Kita Madani program in Pulau Tuba, Langkawi today, Communications and Digital Minister Fahmi Fazil said this includes appointing a new PADI advisor who will play a role in coordinating appropriate integrated programs and meeting the needs of the local community.
Mungkin PADI itu boleh kita sediakan beberapa perkhidmatan yang lain serta program-program yang menepati keperluan tempatan dan apa yang perlu kita lakukan untuk kumpulan-kumpulan tertentu.
Elaborating further on the matter, the minister also said that there are areas where there are many elderly people or young people who do not have permanent jobs. Therefore, PADI can be utilised to provide them with suitable programs. Earlier, Fahmi, accompanied by KKD Secretary General Datuk Muhammad Fauzi Mat Issa, visited PADI at Pulau Tuba. Themed Media Bebas Tunjang Demokrasi, Free Media Pillar of Democracy. The National Journalist Day Hawana 2023 celebration is seen to be able to create a win-win situation between the media and the government in the context of media freedom. Bernama Chief Executive Officer Roslan Arifin said this is because the media needs a government that allows them to carry out their responsibilities freely, while the government needs the media to assist in the country's development. When appearing as a guest on RTM Selamat Pagi Malaysia program today, he said the theme for Hawana 2023 clearly describes how free media is the pillar behind a democratic country, and in Malaysia, media freedom is strongly encouraged.
Bahawa media dan juga kerajaan mempunyai hubungan yang baik, saling kata yakin dan mempercayai satu sama lain dalam melaksanakan peranannya. Maksudnya lengkap melengkapilah.
In addition, Roslan said the media in Malaysia is in a good position, and this can be proven when the country was ranked 73rd from 180 countries in the World Press Freedom Index 2023 and the highest among ASEAN countries. The Hawana 2023 celebration will be held in Ipoh, Perak from 27 to 29th May. Prime Minister Dato' Sri Anwar Ibrahim is scheduled to grace the highlight of the celebration on 28th May. Coming up next, compensation policy to ease the impact of human-wildlife conflict. An argument to conceal an out-of-wedlock pregnancy between a young couple turned deadly when a 21-year-old woman was brutally murdered at Jalan Sungai Limau in Sabak Bernam. The victim was stabbed to death in the abdomen and had a fetus removed before her body was burned. The case came to light when members of the public found the charred remains of the victims at nearby palm oil plantation. Sabak Bernam District Police Chief Superintendent Agus Salim Muhammad Alias said police have arrested a 20-year-old man to facilitate investigation into the case. He said preliminary investigation showed the suspect had just completed his studies at an institute of higher learning. Agus Salim added that urine tests from the suspect returned negative for drug use. A background check conducted on the suspect showed that he did not have past criminal records. Agus Salim said that the victim's remains are now at the Sungai Buloh Hospital for post-mortem and the case is being investigated under Section 302 of the Penal Code for murder. The government is drafting a new guideline to compensate farmers whose crops were damaged by wild animals. Natural Resources, Environment and Climate Change Minister Nik Nazmi Ahmad said his ministry has held discussions with the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, the Ministry of Plantations and Commodities and the Finance Ministry to formulate their policy and implementation mechanism.
Sekarang sebenarnya untuk kematian kecederaan memang ada sedikit sakit hati. Sudah pun ada oleh pihak kerajaan. Kalau yang disebabkan oleh haiwan liar, kematian atau kecederaan. Yang menjadi isunya sekarang ialah apabila berlaku kerosakan kepada tanaman. Jadi kita tidak mahu bila berlaku kerosakan dan sebagainya, dia akan menyebabkan kemarahan orang ramai dan dia akan ambil tindakan yang akan memberi kesan kepada hidupan liar.
Speaking to reporters after attending the ministry's monthly assembly and a biodiversity dialogue in Putrajaya today, Nik Nazmi said that they also discussed on agriculture activities in areas near wildlife habitats or forest reserves that could lead to human-wildlife conflicts. He added that the matter would be looked into comprehensively. Russia says it has crushed a cross-border attack from Ukraine. There are more coming up in our foreign segment. The International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) is looking forward to strengthening cooperation with China on nuclear technology. Rafael Grossi, Director General of the agency, arrived in Beijing to start a 5-day visit to China, which will be his first visit to the country since he took over at the helm of the IAEA in 2019. On Monday, Grossi and other IAEA officials signed several cooperation agreements with the China Atomic Energy Authority (CAEA). The two sides will strengthen nuclear collaboration on climate change, medical advancement, nuclear data, fuel cycle and waste management, as well as communication activities. During his stay in China, Grossi will visit Tsinghua University, Peking Union Medical College Hospital and the Shidao Bay Nuclear Power Plant, among other nuclear facilities and institutions, to learn more about China's nuclear technology development. China has more than 50 operational nuclear power units and 24 are under construction. According to the latest Blue Book of China Nuclear Energy Development Report, by 2035, China's nuclear power generation will account for 10% of the country's electricity generation. Grossi believes that the country has made enormous stride with its own nuclear power program, which is an asset for other countries. The Chadian government says it is making efforts to boost security along its border with Sudan as a growing influx of Sudanese refugees fleeing the fighting in the country is expected. Kafrun is an eastern village of Chad on the common border with Sudan, and it has given rise to a lot of concerns in recent days. According to the United Nations, at least one refugee was killed by a rocket strike on a camp for Sudanese refugees in Kafrun on 18 May. A senior official of the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNHCR, also said that, so far, those who have borne the burn of the spillover violence from the conflict in Sudan are the most vulnerable. As Kafrun is one of the 27 entry points along the Sudan-Chad border for the refugees, the Chadian government says it's doing its best to secure those entry points. Those assurances have, however, done little to ease the fears of those living in this town. The UN said that the refugee situation was alarming in eastern Chad, where there was a pressing need for funding. The Sudanese Doctors Union said in a statement released that the civilian death toll from the conflict between the two rival military factions in Sudan had climbed to 863. Over 1 million people, including refugees and returnees, have fled Sudan to Chad since the military conflict between the Sudanese army and the rival paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF) broke out on 15 April. Moscow said it arrested and killed scores of Ukrainian nationalists who crossed into Russia from Ukraine after 2 days of combat in what appeared to be one of the biggest incursions of its kind of the 15-month-old war. There was no immediate independent confirmation that the fighting had ended, but the governor of Russia's Belgorod region said the anti-terrorism measures he introduced after Monday's attack had been lifted. The Russian military said it had killed more than 70 Ukrainian nationalists and destroyed 4 armored vehicles. Belgorod Governor Vyacheslav Gladkov said 1 civilian had been killed at the hands of the Ukrainian armed forces. The fighting forced Russia to evacuate towns along the border with northeast Ukraine. Russia has blamed Ukraine for the attack, which Kiev has denied. The two groups who claimed responsibility for the raid, the Freedom of Russia Legion and the Russian Volunteer Corps RVC, both say they comprise armed Russian fighters seeking to overthrow President Vladimir Putin. The Legion says it is recognized by Ukraine and its members have fought there against Russian forces. The RVC has claimed responsibility for previous attacks inside Russia, including a cross-border raid in the neighboring Bryansk region in March. South Africa's interest rates hiking cycle is running longer with steeper raises than initially anticipated as persistent power cuts add to inflationary pressures, further straining households and businesses barely surviving in a weak economy. The South African Reserve Bank, facing the dilemma of keeping a lid on inflation by raising rates without stifling already slow economic growth, has hiked its repo rate by 425 basis points since November 2021, but inflation continues to run hot. Even before the power crisis deepened towards the end of 2022, South Africans were already under pressure from rising prices on the back of the global factors that had disrupted supply chains, including the COVID-19 pandemic and the war in Ukraine. In January 2023, most economists saw no further monetary policy tightening beyond that month in anticipation of slower inflation, but that prediction did not materialize. The SARB again raised rates in March with a higher than expected 50 basis points to 7.75%. The SARB has gone to great lengths to explain that the bank's primary mandate was to ensure price stability in the interest of balance and sustainable growth as the tighter economic conditions put consumers, including the working class, under severe strain. A senior economist at First National Bank, Koketso Mano, said the upcoming rate hike will put further pressure on South Africans and could result in households becoming indebted and poorer. Coming up in sports, all 4 Malaysian mixed pairs fall in Malaysian Masters. All for Malaysian mixed doubles pairs crashed out of the first round of the Malaysia Masters 2023 Badminton Championships today. Tan Kian Meng and Lai Beijing were the first to be shown the exit when they lost to Thailand's Supak Jokom Supisara Poisampran. The world number 17th ranked Malaysians lost 20-22 to the world number 13 Thailand pair in 44 minutes at the Axiata Arena. The same fate befell 7 seeds Goh Sun Wat, Siobhan Jamilai as they played below par and were eliminated by Indonesia as Pravin Jordan melatih Deva Octavianti. After losing the first game 19-21, Sun Wat Siobhan came back to win the second 21-18 but could not sustain their form and lost 12-21 in the decider. Malaysia's losing streak continued when Chan Peng Soon and SAHIH were ousted by Korea's Kim Won-hoo, Jong Na-eun 21-8, 21-15. Chen Dang-ji, Teo Yue, who played well at the recent Sudirman Cup, failed to save Malaysia the blushes, losing 2022, 21-11, 21-15 to Indonesia's Rinov Rivaldi, Pita Haningtyas Mentari. The national men's hockey junior team began their Asian Youth Cup 2023 campaign in style by thrashing Uzbekistan 8-1 in their Group B opener in Salalah, Oman late yesterday. In the action that took place at the Sultan Qaboos Youth Complex, Muhammad Amin Rahim's Chargers easily took a 3-0 lead in the first quarter through T. Prabhu's penalty corner in the 7th and 9th minutes, followed by Alfarico Lance Liao Jr.'s field goal in the 12th minute. Prabhu capped off his brilliant performance with a hat-trick when he converted a penalty corner in the 18th minute for the team's 4th goal before Syahmi Irfan Suhaimi and Cik Nur Akhirullah Cik Muhammad Khairul Ruzi Anwar made it 6-0 in the 26th and 27 minutes respectively. Another 2 goals scored by Mughni Muhammad Kamal and Muhammad Adam Ashraf Muhammad Johari in the last quarter of the game added to the onslaught before the opponents finally scored a consolation goal through Shafkat John Karamonov 5 minutes before the final whistle. Commenting on the 8-1 win, Muhammad Amin said his boys performed well to collect the first 3 points and hoped that all of them would remain focused ahead of the second match against Bangladesh today. Malaysia made history in 2012 when they emerged champion of the Men's Hockey Junior Asia Cup for the first time, ending a 20-year wait to win the championship after defeating Pakistan 2-1 in the final at the Bukit Serendid Hockey Stadium in Melaka. On to motorsports, Honda will become Aston Martin's engine partner when Formula One enters the new power unit era in 2026. The Japanese manufacturer, after making the announcement, said the new partnership will transform Silverstone-based Aston Martin into Honda's sole focus on the starting grid from their current position as one of 4 teams with Mercedes engines. Honda CEO Toshihiro Mibe said, with a shared sincerity and passion for winning, Aston Martin, Aramco and Honda will aim to become champions together. Honda officially withdrew from F1 in 2021 but has continued to provide engines to reigning world champions Red Bull, who have already announced a deal with Ford from 2026 under a technical support arrangement. Aston Martin F1 team owner, Canadian billionaire Lawrence Stroll, meanwhile said Honda's experience and expertise with a focus on carbon neutrality, sustainability and electrification are the right match for Aston Martin Formula One. Formula One's 2026 power unit will use 100% sustainable fuels and have a much greater electrical component, with a sport aiming to be carbon neutral by 2030. The Spanish Football Federation, RFEF, said that Real Madrid forward Vinicius Jr. will not be suspended after receiving a red card in Sunday's La Liga match at Valencia, in which he was also racially abused. The federation said the RFEF competition committee considers that the referee's assessment was determined by the omission of the entirety of the play that took place, which affected the refereeing decision. The fact that the referee was deprived of a decisive part of the facts led him to adopt an arbitrary decision, and this is because it was impossible for him to properly assess what happened. Valencia's south stand will also be partially closed for 5 matches, and the club will fine €45,000. Meanwhile, Brazil has formally protested to the Spanish ambassador and would lodge an official complaint with authorities in Madrid over the racist abuse. The Brazilian government said Racial Equality Minister Aniel Franco would present an official complaint to Spanish authorities and La Liga. A foreign ministry source meanwhile told the media that the government had protested to Spain's ambassador in Brazil. In Saudi Pro League, Cristiano Ronaldo helped to keep Al Nassr's slim hopes of winning the league title in his first season at the club alive when he scored the winning goal against Al Shabab. Al Nassr trailed league leaders Al Ittihad by 3 points with just 2 matches to go. Al Ittihad will clinch the title with a win in neither of their last 2 matches as they have the lead in head-to-head competition, which would be the determining factor if the 2 teams ended with the same points. It looked like Al Nassr's title hopes were in dust when they were down 2-0 in the first half at home. Then Talisca put them on board with a clean strike from near the penalty mark in the 44th minute. Into the second half, Al Nassr forward Abdurrahman Gharib displayed some neat footwork before finding back off the net from just outside the goal area to level the game. In the end, it was Ronaldo's 59th minute goal that put them over the top and keeps their title dreams afloat. The final matches of the season will be played simultaneously on 27th and 31st May. Now moving on in tennis, former Gone Geneva Open champion Alexander Zverev continued his love affair with the ATP 250 event when he moved past American Christopher Eubanks 6-2, 6-3. The German, who's competing in Geneva for the first time since he won the title in 2019, overpowered Eubanks in their first ATP head-to-head meeting. He hammered the ball off both wings and broke Eubanks' serve 4 times to advance after 69 minutes. Zverev arrived in Geneva off the back of runs to the 4th round at ATP Masters 1000 events in Madrid and Rome. The 26-year-old will face Wu Yibing or Marco Cecchinato in his second tour-level quarterfinal of the season. Zverev is this week chasing his first tour title since winning in 2021 Nitto ATP Finals. The German has clinched 6 of his 19 tour-level trophies on clay. Earlier, American JJ Wolf set up a last 16 encounter with top seed Casper Ruud of Norway, following a 6-4, 6-2 triumph over Bolivian Hugo Dellien, while Dutchman Talon Griekspoor and Belarus Ilya Ivashka claim respective first-round victories. And that wraps up Malaysia Tonight. A reminder of our top story. Lima 23 can reinforce Malaysia's hub for aerospace and maritime industries. I'm Shuhaida Arifin. Stay tuned to saluran Berita RTM and have a pleasant evening.